Hello and welcome to the World of Warcraft Arena World Championships. Now guys, we have the best 8 teams in the world today competing for their share of a $250,000 prize pool and the right to play on the BlizzCon stage.
So the Chinese all-star lineup going up against the European all-star lineup. Except for Hen Baishuan, Dark Archon was not able to get back, and SK Gaming are going to take the series 2-0 as would be expected.
Is Geo2 in the front, followed by Mudgain. Only 3 players on this team can lead into a little bit of disadvantage. Trying to get that fear out now, coding into the cycle, and Mudgain could just go down right here. The rallying cry comes out, but that's not enough.
Wow.
And 2-0 for Cloud9.
On Tempo Storm, but can they come together and build the synergy that they need to win BlizzCon?
This could be the game for few, and this looks like Tempo Storm is going to take this series 2-0.
So high, Absters gets Deeps. They have to stop the CC on Absters if they want to win it. Counterspell onto the poly. Ring of Frost follows up. It's only half duration, but that's all they're going to need, I think. The killing spree comes out from Pride, and it's going to finish off Fossil. I hope he's done at 1% and will fall.
This, of course, is Team SK Gaming coming all the way from Europe. Right there in the front, we have Joe Fernandez. All right, Team Tempo Storm have been very, very fierce in all the matches they've played so far. They may be trying to turn it around on Joe. He's going to pop the die by the sword, and he should be just fine off of that. But Peekaboo still, the triple shockwave. Elite has to trinket that to keep his teammates alive, but it's not enough.
EU greater than NA, just proven in this series. Go back to you. Are going to take a quick 2-0 over Cloud9. You can hear them yelling from across the stage.
Need to bounce back from their loss just as much as original Gangstar did, but I think they're going to have a tough time in this match.
Zhao Ji doesn't have much healing at all. He has a Spirit Link coming up in 6 seconds, but it's not going to be enough. Dark Archon's going to go down. Solari Gaming going to take this series and say, you know what, we're still in this tournament. And they're going to defeat original Gangstar, eliminating them completely.
Now these guys are down to their last match possibly, but these guys have shown that they deserve to be there. Their matches were incredible. Even though it was an 0-2, it was that didn't tell the story of the whole match. Again, that was one of the games that I would suggest going back and watching.
It was so close. Too little, too late, and Follow Esports going to take this 2-1, and Duke Fun is going to be eliminated from the tournament. Wow.
Exciting matches are going to be coming up at BlizzCon. I'm so excited for it. So many great matches, so much money on the line too.
All right, and of course that was a quick recap of opening week. We had a lot of epic series. We were talking before about that series between Follow Esports and Do It For Fun. It was a very, very ridiculously close series. We did have a lot of 2-0s last week, but even the 2-0s, we kept saying this last week as well, every single one of them, we felt like it was down to the wire in every single game, and it just happened to fall in the manner that it ended up being 2-0s most of the time.
Yeah, and they were all exciting matches. So again, if you missed those, we have the VODs available for them. It was so many intense matches. I loved the RMD mirror, though. I think that was my highlight of the weekend.
Yeah, it was a lot of good games, and we've been talking about the prize money here today quite a bit. But of course, there is also the title of BlizzCon champion, which for a lot of these players is actually more important than the money. This is sort of like the end of the line for a PvPer. You know, this is what you work for all year long, and it's nice that they can come here and sort of, you know, over the years they've been working for so long, becoming good at the game, and this is like beating the game in a PvP side of the thing.
Yeah, like for a raider, you know, you beat that last boss, you get down Mythic Archimond or something, and you're like, okay, yeah, we finished it. For PvPers, we beat BlizzCon.
Yeah,
That's what people want to say. We downed BlizzCon is kind of the, I don't think anyone actually says it like that. That would be weird. But the idea of
BlizzCon.
Yeah, the players are really living their dreams right now, and they're going to be battling their hearts out to take victory. And if you guys want to interact with us at home as well, we do have a hashtag #WowEsports available for you guys. You can just tweet whatever you say if you're excited about the tournament, something's making you really happy, maybe you're excited about Legion, whatever it is. If you want to interact along with us, we are here to respond now as well.
Yeah, and of course, as we continue on, we do need to get into that first series. And before we do that, let's go ahead and take a quick look at these two teams and what their thoughts are going into this upcoming match.
Our next matchup is going to be against Tempo Storm again. I think we have to rely on them making mistakes to make us win. So it's going to be insanely hard, but we're pretty confident on our play, so we just have to hope that they don't do mistakes.
We're going to have another clean sweep on Solari Gaming because we're really confident against them. and we faced them before, so.
Yeah, we're gonna smoke Solari Gaming like a Christmas ham. They're not bad, but they're not good either, you know?
Considering we lost to them already, it's kind of like a double-edged sword, because on the one hand, we lost to them, obviously, that doesn't feel too good, but on the other hand, because we lost to them, we know what we did wrong. Maybe we can improve on that and get some new strategies going.
We don't have too many options against their especially comps, and we are like confident to fight them, but our comp doesn't allow many strategies, so we're pretty much doing the same and like hope our best.
If I was Solari Gaming, I probably wouldn't even show up. I'd probably just go enjoy the scenery, enjoy your vacation here in North America, and just be great.
Oh, Jamili.
Jamili animated as always. It's good to see, though. I like the confidence coming in from them. And like Solari Gaming was saying, though, they've had an entire week to sort of think about their strategies.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to capitalize on Temple Storm making mistakes. And if Temple Storm plays well, I think it's going to be very difficult for them to take this matchup.
You know, the one thing that could actually make Tempo Storm lose here might be a bit of overconfidence, maybe a little bit of arrogance, because Jungle Cleave still has a lot of pressure. They have a lot of damage, and Starship is the one that's going to be under fire. So if Jamili lets down his guard, doesn't defensively polymorph the Hunter every once in a while and help Starship out, maybe that could throw the game. So overconfidence definitely could be a weakness for Tempo Storm here moving into the series. Let's see if Solari Gaming can answer that.
Yeah, and to find that out, whether or not that answer is available, we do have to bring these teams out. So we're going to head down to the stage for Jackson to introduce our teams.
All right, guys, this is why you're here, right? Let's get the arena started, huh? All right, let's do this. So, as you guys heard in that video and as we've heard backstage, these teams do have a little bit of beef to settle on stage, and I think that we should get this started. So, let's bring out, on the green side, Solari Gaming. Come on out, guys. Give it up for them. Yeah, so these guys we saw last time play a lot of Jungle Cleave, and this is actually a matchup that we saw earlier from BlizzCon opening week. They went up against Tempo Storm, and they tried their best to train down Starship, so unsuccessfully. But we'll see if they can either change up their strat or be more successful this time. Either way, give it up for them, Solari Gaming. And on the gold side, we have the NA powerhouse, the Titan, Tempo Storm. Come on out, guys. We've got Jamili, Peekaboo, Starship, and Elite, all known for being one of the best players at their respective classes, coming together as a team, putting out some good games for us. But I think it's about time that these guys get down to business. Who wants to see some awesome arenas today? All right, let's do this, casters. Take it away.
Thanks so much, Jackson. It looked like Pyrocta had a little bit of an extra coach there on his shoulder, walking out a little Pepe, just feeding him a little bit of extra information. I'm not sure if that's entirely within the rules, but then again, he is a plushie, so there's probably not much that he really has to say.
I'm curious if Pepe means that he's actually going to play. He hasn't played a game yet. Maybe that's a clue. Maybe he's giving that away to his opponents with finding Pepe on his shoulder. So it'd be interesting to see that. But I think that Solari Game is most likely going to be sticking with the Jungle Cleave like we were speaking earlier. And then for the side of Tempo Storm, really all of the pressure is on Starship's shoulders. It really relies on him to carry his team defensively and stay alive. We can see Solari Gaming right there. Fuin up front, Pyrocta to the left, and Sukin on the far left, and Waffle on the right, playing that Resto Shaman, backing up his team and keeping them alive.
Yeah, Waffle's been doing incredible this tournament, and in the EU regionals, he did such a great job of keeping his team alive.
Yeah, it's actually really, like, even though these guys have had a bit of a rough run over opening week and then coming here to BlizzCon, they did still make it here to BlizzCon, and they made it here because they are actually legitimately, they're very good players, not just by some fluke of nature or anything like that. No, they deserve to be here. We've seen some amazing play coming out of them.
We have. And to get right into it, we have to do the draft first. So again, it is going to be on the Grand Arena, but let's take a look at what comps they have selected. Look at that.
what are they going to be leading off with? Looks like it's going to be the Jungle Cleave.
Yep. Yeah, Solari Gaming going with the Jungle Cleave of Beast Mastery Hunter, Restoration Shaman, and Feral Druid. I heard one of the players telling them before, just run, I believe it was actually Jellybeans was telling them, just run Beast Mastery. It's so good. You got to give that a try. So be interesting to see how that's going to work out. Of course, Tempo Storm going with their mainstay RMD. That's going to be that Subtlety Rogue, that Frost Mage, and the Restoration Druid. This is a comp that's been very, very popular because it is a very, very strong, well-rounded comp. We've seen so many good matches coming out of that comp already. So we will be getting this match here very, very shortly, and we will find out which of these two teams is going to claim the victory.
Yeah. What do you think about the North Americans always running that Subtlety in RMD versus the Europeans running the combat? I mean, we did see the matchup, and we know who won that one, but overall, what do you think like the big difference is right there?
I think NA players just like to play a little bit more stylistically. I think that Subtlety lacks a lot of the raw damage that combat brings, but they want to kind of playfully play around with their cooldowns along with Shadow Dance and coordinate with their team a little bit more, whereas the combat rogues play almost more like a warrior. You just want to keep smashing, doing as much damage as possible, so it's more of a stylistic difference. I wouldn't say there was necessarily a significant difference between the specs necessarily to say that combat is better than Subtlety and Subtlety is better than combat. I wouldn't put it that way. I would say that it's personal preference amongst the players' decision to play it.
And that's pretty awesome, that because normally when you see these comps like RMD, RMP, WLD, everyone's playing the exact same spec, the same glyphs, same, everything. It's pretty much template for all of them, and then watching that big difference between NA and EU has been gigantic.
Yep, so we are just getting ready here to get into this matchup here. Had a little bit of a false start there for just a second, but I'm sure we will be getting into this match here very, very shortly. What sort of predictions do you guys want to make here? I know we've been talking a lot about how the comps are going to match up against each other, but looking specifically at these two teams, obviously Solari Gaming at a bit of a disadvantage in terms of the overall potential for a comeback here, because it will have to be a comeback coming off of that 2-0 that they lost earlier versus Tempo Storm. But do you think that given the extra week of practice, given the extra time, and maybe a little bit of overconfidence coming out of Tempo Storm, especially from that interview, what do you think their chances are of taking this series?
I think Solari Gaming, this is probably one of their hardest matchups overall, and I mean their win rate, you want me to give this a number here? it's probably 10% to 90%. In favor of Tempo Storm, I think, in this matchup. But not to say that they don't stand a chance, to point more importantly that this series is only a best of 3. So if Solari Gaming win 2 in a row, they progress forward and eliminate Tempo Storm from the tournament. And that could prove to be favorable for their team and their composition, as they are very burst-based. They go for a hard front opener, and then after that, they really lose a lot of momentum. So they need to get a kill in the opening stages of the game, and the best of 3 is going to allow them to exploit that even more.
Yeah, and we want to know what you guys at home think about this as well. We are using Twitter to put together some fancy little polls, so there you can see it on the screen. Use that hashtag WowEsports, and also all of us joining here in the arena itself as well. Use that hashtag WowEsports and tweet out hashtag Solari if your vote is for Solari Gaming, and of course hashtag Tempo Storm if you think that Tempo Storm is going to take this series.
Do you think the poll will end up 90-10 also? That's your prediction?
I think there was a poll on the WoW website actually that said Tempo Storm was going to take the entire tournament.
Wow.
So it's worth noting that was on the North American site, yeah. So I think there may have been a little bit of region bias there, but yeah. So we will be getting into this match here very, very shortly. The teams are queued up. We are just waiting for the gates to open, and we will get into this first match of our first series here at BlizzCon 2015.
Yeah, it's so exciting. Awesome to see. I really hope that Solari Gaming bring their A game. It would be nice to make them make Tempo Storm sweat. I want to see Jamili have to work for this win. I'm tired of him saying he's a janitor and people are Christmas ham. Come on, make Jamili sweat in this game, Solari Gaming. You guys can do it. Representing Europe, and Tempo Storm representing North America. This is their elimination series in the first round of BlizzCon.
And so the gates have now opened. I'm just following Peekaboo out of the gate because I want to see what his strategy is going to be here. He's going to be trying to move around and going for that open, probably going to look for the sap onto Waffle at some point. But I'm actually having a hard time. Oh, there he is. Excuse me. He does get in there, tries to get the sap off, doesn't quite land it, so the deep freeze is going to come out onto Waffle. They do get the cheap shot onto Sukin, the full polymorph onto Waffle. Sukin tries to feign death just to limit a little bit of the damage, and it actually kind of seemed to work because they're swapping over to now.
Shadow Dance on a few, and the smoke bomb gets dropped. He's going to survive a Lensix. He's still down to 30% HP, forcing Waffle's trinket. They're going to stabilize. Incarnation gets popped from Few, and he baits the Barkskin out from Starship, and they trap him on the Barkskin. Are they going to do a swap out of that is the question. They managed to get Jamili's block as well here from the Murder of Crows. The trap is now fading. Let's see how Solari Gaming reacts to this. Berserk is still available for Few, and Jamili is still down to half HP. Starship pops the Heart of the Wild, trying to get a little bit of extra healing to pick himself up. Few goes in. The pre-Iron Bar comes out. Starship should be just fine, but they're switching over to Jamili. Solari Gaming are all over the place, forcing so many cooldowns in the initial round of this first game.
And Starship did have to use his Nature Swiftness there too, but he's been holding on to his trinkets. That is looking good for Tempo Storm now.
Yeah, Jamili does still have his second Ice Block available, so that's another saving grace in trinket as well. They're trying to turn it around on a Few, and he gets caught in a cool kidney shot. Kidney shot, excuse me, and that's going to be it. Very, very fast. First win there for Tempo Storm.
Yeah, Solari Gaming really brought the aggression early on. I like that they baited the Barskin out without using the Berserk and then trapped it up, but then after that they couldn't keep their momentum going, unfortunately. And because the trinket was forced on Waffle so early on, he wasn't able to enact his big defensive cooldown Spirit Link. So maybe Solari Gaming can play it a little bit slower in the opening stages of the matches and allow Waffle to hold on to his trinket. Maybe then they can get something done later in the game, because it was looking actually very good for them until that one setup out from Tempo Storm that just completely annihilated Few.
Yeah, and one other important thing to note there is just how early Jamili used his first Ice Block. He was at about 70-80% health, and Jamili is known for wanting to be really, really greedy with his Ice Blocks and wanting to save them until the last possible second, and sometimes even using them offensively. But that's an interesting thing that happened in that matchup. Jamili being willing to use his Ice Block as soon as that CC chain was coming out, because he knew we can't risk it. We know we can beat these guys, so we're going to play it safe, and we're just going to try and win purely on the fact of playing a little bit better.
That's exactly what Tempo Storm did. They just saw the Incarnation, answer it with the Barskin. They saw it switch over to Jamili, answer it with the Ice Block after he got trapped up. Solari Gaming did force through a lot of cooldowns, but unfortunately Waffle having to trinket so early on meant that he couldn't enact his big cooldown later in the game. So I'd like to see Solari Gaming work together to try and hold on to Waffle's trinket a little bit longer. I think Few's trinket could probably get thrown away as opposed to Waffle's earlier on, and just trinket right away, get the survival instincts up. Just can't bear farm for a little bit, try and stop the re-CC from the Cyclone and the Polymorphs, and try and bring it forward to Tempo Storm, because it looked really good for Solari Gaming in terms of forcing defensive cooldowns out from Tempo Storm. Let's see if they can keep Waffle's trinket enacted a little bit longer in the second match here, and I would expect probably a Runes of Lordaeron or Dalaran's.
Yeah, one of those two definitely. And of course, that is Tempo Storm on your screen. That is up 1-0 against Solari Gaming right now. So Solari Gaming does have the map pick, like we said, and so we're probably expecting a closer map so that they can connect to their target constantly. The hunter will just be able to chase down whatever target they're killing. I'm actually we were talking to Solari Gaming, and they were saying they just have to kill the healer. Like they have to go for it. Like they have to bet it. They're not well matched in this setup. They already lost to them, so they were going to capitalize on just trying to get a good switch onto Starship when his trinket was down, but doesn't seem like they were going for that strat at all.
Well, he kind of shut them down by pre-Iron Barking and Heart of the Wilding. Right when they wanted to do it, he just predicted the play and played really well out of Tempo Storm. So Starship was there with his team, but let's jump over to the Windows 10 game DVR replay with Jackson.
Thanks, guys. So pretty solid first match. One of the things that I really liked about that last one is that Solari Gaming did try to swap it up. Let's take a look at the replay. And when I came out here, at first I was thinking, last time we saw Solari Gaming, they were tunneling Starship the entire time. And it seemed like they were baiting cooldowns by swapping to him. He'd Iron Bark, and they would immediately trap him. We saw the Barks get trapped. We saw the Iron Bark trap and made swaps. Unfortunately for them, despite them changing up their offensive play style, defensively they were still a little bit lacking. I do like the way that they swapped around. I'm wondering if they're going to stick with that strat this next time, or just go back to what almost worked with their Starship training strategy, especially now that Sugan went to Beast Mastery, which is a lot more on-demand burst. Two things to look out for are the BM plus Crows combo and the Barrage combo. Those are some really, really big cooldowns that do a lot of damage. So look out for those next time. But if Solari Gaming can't pull this one out, they're going to be eliminated from the tournament. Let's go throw it back to the casters.
Thanks so much, Jackson. And yeah, that very, very true that this does mean that they are down 0-1 in this series. If they lose this next game, they are going to be out of the tournament. Of course, they will still go home with a fair chunk of prize money, but at this point, you don't really have your eyes on that. Like, I think it's like $10,000 in the last place positions. You're not really worried about $10,000 at this point. You want that $120,000 for coming in first. So neither of these teams really wants to go out here, but Solari Gaming definitely on the back foot after that match.
I know that Solari Gaming, speaking to them last week after their defeat, they were feeling really hopeless going into this matchup. It didn't seem like they were really putting their best effort. But I think after that first initial round, it was really great just baiting the Barskin with the Incarn, holding on to his second cooldown Berserk for later on. But Starship knew what was coming and was ready for it. But I can appreciate that Solari Gaming is putting their best effort into this matchup. I'm really interested to see what map they go with and if they're going to change their strategy at all. Maybe just stick to Starship like Jackson was saying, or if they're going to keep bouncing between Jamili and Starship.
And we can actually find that out right now. We have our draft for the second round of this matchup. So again, it is going to be Solari Gaming's map pick, then Tempo Storm locked in their comp, and then Solari Gaming gets to pick based on the two of those. So let's see if there's any changes coming in. I don't predict any.
It's going to be Dalaran Sewers. They are going for a smaller map like we expected. And it looks like both compositions are going to be the exact same again. Solari Gaming sticking with that jungle cleave, the Beast Mastery Hunter and Feral Druid with that Restoration Shaman. And Tempo Storm, of course, it worked in the first game, so why not stick with the RMD and see if they can't just get themselves another quick win in the second game. Yep,
Dalaran Sewers is a decent pick for Solari Gaming. It means that Starship won't have as many routes to escape. The distance of the map is very small, which means that Fuin can stay on his target much more easily. It was interesting, Tempo Storm, their opener kind of got thrown away a little bit. Peekaboo wasn't able to get the sap, he got explosive trapped out, but he just answered it with a subterfuge cheap shot. And they were putting a little bit of pressure onto Sukin the Hunter, and then swapped it over onto Fuin. So I think Fuin, if he's prepared to get swapped to, I mean, he's going to be the primary target. I almost think just initially from stealth that as soon as the Sukin the Hunter gets open on, maybe just sit in bear form, get ready to get cheap shot, wait for that to be over, then rotate out and do your damage. Just play a little bit more defensively in the initial seconds of the game. But it's interesting to see Dalaran Sewers over Runes of Lordaeron. I guess in this case, the game could play out a little bit longer if they want to try and reset it. But Solari Gaming have been a very hot-headed team in terms of aggression. They just never seem to stop, always pushing forward. Let's see if they can keep that aggression rolling and take down Starship in game number 2.
Yeah, and that's really the thing we need to watch for is that swap onto Starship. So get ready for that. And one of the things to note on this new UI, if you guys didn't tune in last week, is behind the unit frames themselves, when they start catching on fire, it means they've used one of their class's big offensive cooldowns. So watch for that. A lot of the times you'll see it where RMD, Rogue Mage Druid, will set up, and you'll see both the Rogue and the Mage on fire, and so they're definitely going for a kill at that point.
Yeah, it is a lot of burst damage to have to deal with once that double DPS combo comes out from the Rogue and the Mage, but the gates are about to open. We will be getting into this second match between Tempo Storm and Solari Gaming. If Solari Gaming loses this match, they will be out of the tournament, but if they win, Tempo Storm will still have the opportunity to come back, so we're going to find out here very, very shortly how this is going to go.
Fuin actually found Peekaboo in stealth. He's not going to get a decent opener here. Well done from Fuin. Let's see if they can capitalize on this at all. Fuin leaping out over onto Jamili. Starship repositioned on the opposite side of the map. Jamili already down to half HP. BM Crows coming out from Sukin. He does get bashed up. Fuin goes into the kidney shot. Shadow Dance out from Peekaboo. Tempo Storm looking to try and get an early kill onto Fuin. In the meantime, Jamili trading his block here for the cooldowns early on, but that Berserk is still available. If Solari Gaming can reconnect to Jamili, they might be able to tear him apart.
Yeah, it's interesting that he didn't immediately use Berserk with Incarnation, you know, going for the kill but not using everything. He is going to get cloned right now. Starship is doing a great job of playing a little bit further away. You see a masterful healer position in that situation.
Yeah, but there's the deep freeze onto Waffle, cheap shot onto Feywin. Do they have any follow-up CC for Waffle? Does it even matter? No, he does manage to get the Spirit Link out, and that's going to keep Feywin alive for a little bit longer here. But Waffle, he actually managed to hang onto his Trinket as well, so he will have another Trinket Link available if he absolutely needs it. This match is actually going much better for Solari Gaming.
Yeah, Berserk coming out from Fuin, trying to get a little bit of damage here, but Starship did pre-Ironbark. We see Death from above, reconnecting over onto Fuin. He's going to use his last charge of Survival Instincts, reducing a lot of damage, but Waffle is still getting crowd controlled. It could be the Trinket out from him. He's not right on top of Fuin. He needs to be getting in range of the Spear Link. He's down to 22% HP. Waffle reconnects the Link just in time to keep his team alive into this game, but they haven't forced the critical mass of cooldowns. BM Crows over onto Jamili. He still has one more block, and it's not looking good for Solari Gaming. Tempo Storm should be able to easily take this game.
And they're doing a bunch of damage to Peekaboo now. I like the swap. You know, they tried to catch him with Feint down, but he already had that evasion ready for it. And Fuin again is just having to run for a bit from Peekaboo as Peekaboo is trying to connect back on him, but Starship is already there and ready.
That's it. That's going to be the game. Fuin down to 30% HP. Waffle trying to reconnect. The smoke bomb gets dropped. Fuin's going to fall. And Tempo Storm are going to take another clean 2-0 against Solari Gaming, moving into the semifinals now and eliminating Solari Gaming from BlizzCon.
Well, that was a lot of damage. Yeah, they just managed to constantly force cooldowns out of Waffles, and the entire team of Solari Gaming just not allowing them the opportunity to really ever put themselves in a position where they could do too much. There was that very early on point where, like you were saying, maybe they could have stayed onto Jamili just long enough, but there was actually some great cheap shots coming out from Peekaboo during that time. He's always been very good at using his CC defensively to just split up the opposing team and not allow them to keep putting out that damage.
Jared, you were asking why wasn't he using the Berserking with the Incarnation, and specifically if you play Feral Druid at home against a Rogue, what Rogues really love to do is just blind you right away on your Incarn and your Berserk, and you just lose both of the cooldowns. So he's trying to space those cooldowns out, and he did a good job, but Starship just always had an answer. He was always in the best position for his team, and Tempo Storm are going to take that matchup 2-0 as would be expected and move on into the semifinals.
That means we have 3 teams locked in for our semifinals, and our matchup next is going to determine the 4th.
Yep, and this next matchup is going to be really interesting because it is between 2 North American teams, Follow Esports and Cloud9. And although they are both from North America, we haven't actually seen those 2 teams play against each other before. So I'm really hyped for that one. But just breaking down this last match a little bit more, as we do still in a moment here, we will be moving over to Jackson on the stage. But once we get to that point, before we get to that point, let's just think a little bit about anything that Solari Gaming could have done differently there. There were a couple of points, again, the moment where they could have potentially trained onto Jamili a little bit harder. I also felt like they were trying to play super greedy with their defensive cooldowns. Like Waffles, you could see as he's sits through a full blind and then sits through a full polymorph, almost a full polymorph. He really wanted to hang onto that Trinket Link as long as he possibly could. But the damage coming out from Tempo Storm was just too much. Was there anything that they possibly could have done differently in that match?
It would have been breaking up that polymorph. After the blind, he sat the blind. He wanted to keep his Trinket for the next CC chain that was going to hit him. Because against RMD, if you're a healer, you know you're in for a ride. Like that one little mess up, and they weren't able to connect with him and kick that polymorph, and Jamili just could CC him for days at that point.
Yeah, it was a really confident showing for Tempo Storm in Game 1 here at BlizzCon, but we're going to jump over to the Windows 10 game DVR replay with Jackson.
Thanks, guys. Really solid, really dominant first game performance from Tempo Storm, taking that 2-0 victory over Solari Game. Let's take a look at the replay here. So one of the things about this game is, in terms of their decision-making, in terms of which target they're hitting, Fuin is a great choice, both because they take a lot of damage as a Feral Druid. They really only have 2 big defensive cooldowns they can use. You can't use them while stunned. Plus, one of the big things about Jungle Cleave is relying on that Feral Druid Incarnation damage. So if you're putting a lot of damage into Fuin, it's going to have a really hard time going as offensive as he would like to be. So pretty much how it works is every time RMD gets their setup, every time Jamili is able to land that deep polymorph onto Waffle, or into Waffle Eye this time, it's cooldowns. They got 1 Link. Although he was able to save his Trinket, that was good. That was, solid defensive play. Second time, Trinket Link. Third time, Fuin goes down. So really dominant performance by Tempo Storm. We're actually going to have an interview with Team Captain Elite here pretty soon, but we're going to throw it back to the casters. We'll get that set up.
All right, thanks so much once again, Jackson. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of that's sort of the challenge to solve is the first Spirit Link, you're fine. Trinket Link, you're fine. What do you do the third time? Like, what do you actually do in that situation?
Yeah, I think it would have been a lot more pressure relying on Sukin to kind of break up the CC, like you were saying. If it gets chained together over and over and over, that's when Fuin's defensive cooldowns start to mean less. Survival Instincts only last, I believe, 4 seconds. That's such a minor amount of time when you're Shadow Dancing for 10. So unfortunately, Sukin and Fuin weren't able to break up the CC chains onto Waffle, and it's going to be a very dominant showing from Tempo Storm in the initial rounds of BlizzCon. I'm looking forward to see how they play in the next matchup, and I believe they're actually getting flipped on the bracket. They're going to be fighting Skill Capped EU, so another NA versus EU RMD showdown potentially here in the future.
Now, what do you think about that map pick? Do you think it played in their favor? Do you think they had that little edge of having Dellar and Sewers, or do you think they should have gone with something else?
I don't think it really did anything advantageous. It felt really the same as Nagrand Arena. I'm starting to think that maybe there isn't really a favorable map for them. That might just be the best option out of the ones. I mean, Tolvaron Arena would not go very well for them. Maybe Tiger's Peak could have been a little bit better, but unfortunately Solari Gaming weren't able to completely coordinate together as 3 members to break up the CC, and they are going to end up falling to Tempo Storm's dominating plays throughout that last series. And the following series is going to be Follow Esports versus Cloud9. So any Cloud9 fans in the audience, this is now the time to come to the World of Warcraft stage, because they are going to be playing up here very shortly.
Yeah, this is going to be an intense match too. This is one that when we saw them get knocked down, and they both got knocked out of the upper brackets, and they had to face, we're like, oh boy, that's going to be on BlizzCon stage. Can't wait for that one.
Yeah, it's going to be a very, very interesting one, especially because a lot of these North American teams that we have here don't really have a lot of prior like in-person tournament experience. A lot of they've played a lot in online tournaments like the GCD TV Cups and so on, but they haven't had a lot of time playing, especially in front of an audience here on the BlizzCon stage, whereas a lot of the European teams that are remaining, they do have a lot of that experience. So I think that's a very, very important factor moving along here as we get further and further into the tournament. It's just how well are they going to be able to deal with the tournament jitters? Like you get up there on stage, you see all the fans in the audience, you hear the people shouting whenever like you get low on health, and they're like, and it's so exciting. But how that can play into the back of your mind. You're just thinking about that the whole time. Like, I can't mess up right now, or all these people are going to see me.
Yeah, I mean, Tempo Storm didn't seem to have those kind of jitters.
No.
They're just perfectly positioned, trading cooldowns efficiently like they should in the matchup and playing it very textbook. So Tempo Storm are looking good moving in the tournament. And again, as Laura was just saying, it's going to be interesting to see how Follow Esports and Cloud9 fare out on the stage. It is their first time playing in front of a live audience.
Yep, okay, so we do have Jackson down at the stage, ready for an interview with our winning team.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. I am joined by Tempo Storm captain, fresh off of that 2-0 clean sweep, as you guys like to say. How you feeling?
Good. I think we played pretty well that game, and pretty much what we expected, so it's going pretty well so far.
Yeah, you guys definitely look sharp, maybe even sharper than BlizzCon opening week. What sort of preparations have you made from then until now?
Basically just practice every day, backstage, we had a lot of time back there to practice, so we know we were playing the entire week, so I made sure, keep up to touch with, Warcraft Face, and then make sure we're keeping up to touch with, all the other teams still in the tournament.
Right, it seemed like you guys had pretty much a strategy ready for that. It seemed like you had the expectation that Solari Gaming was going to do what they did BlizzCon opening week, just going to tunnel Starship into the ground. But then, they switched it up. Did that catch you off guard?
Well, yeah, the difference this time was their team was playing BM, so we really expect them to go Starship right away. So what we had them do was just play safe, if you had the Bark skin, just use it right away, pre-skin yourself, Jamili's just use Icebox. He's not going to use it offensively. So, he played safe, and it was easier, and, it's what we expected, basically.
So we heard a little bit earlier that, especially on the forums, the NA forums at least, you guys were favored to win BlizzCon. How does that feel to have so much fan support? You guys have a lot of fans cheering for you here today. How's that feel?
Yeah, we have a lot of fans here. Thank you for all the support. Yeah, we're really confident right now. We're playing really well. As long as we play well, I think we have a really good chance to win BlizzCon because we're definitely, some of the best in the world. So I think we have a good chance to win it if we play well.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Elite. Congratulations on moving on. And we'll send it back to the casters. Well, actually, we're going to go to a short break, actually, and then we'll get back to the arenas. Thanks, guys.